Are you seeing the screen on? Okay, thank you.
Yes, I can see your screen. All good.
Perfect. So I can start. Sorry for that. So I'm Jose Javier Ripa. I'm a business development manager for UL. Let me introduce my company. Many of the attendees know us, but I think it's worth to explain that we are UL Renewables, working on several fields for testing, inspection, certification, and advisory services for the entire renewables industry. We are doing due diligence, we are doing a lot of energy yield assessments, and we are working very actively on asset management solutions. And that's where we are doing since more than 4 or 5 years lifetime extension services, especially remaining useful life assessment for our clients. And this is what I'm going to explain today. A few numbers of UL Renewables. We have analyzed in total more than 200,000 megawatts in the world. You see where are all our locations. We are distributed all across the world with, as you see, with a heavy presence in Europe. We are more than 500 renewable experts of a total of 14,000 people working on UL. And we are proud of accounting 35 years of experience in renewable energy. We can say that as a cumulative experience from over 2 original companies for most of the colleagues in renewables, coming from DEVI and AWS True Power. So as you see, we are a global leader working on renewables, and especially specifically in the topic of lifetime extension. As I mentioned, we've been working for the last 4 or 5 years, very focused on analyzing remaining useful life for operational wind farms. So we have explained in several occasions how we do it using aeroelastic models. How are we refining the wind model, the operational model, and so on. But today I want to be a little bit different. I want to explain a different thing. If you want to know how we are doing remaining useful life, you can check our many webinars. For example, the last we performed in Eolis last year in September in Belgium. Today we are going to explain why we are doing remaining useful life assessments. So let's start with the discussion between those 2 guys. They are Tom and Dan, and they are 2 technicians doing maintenance in a wind farm, right? They are very proud of what they do. They know very well their assets. I mean, no one knows better than them how those turbines are. And this wind farm is reaching the 20 years, right? So they are really like exchanging how proud they are and how, you know, how many efforts they have spent on having the wind farm in a good shape as it is. But now the question arises, Dan asking Tom, hey, will you really feel safe entering the turbines after the 20 years? And that's a fundamental question, because whenever we are talking about lifetime extension, we talk about the economy, economical reasons, we talk about regulations, we talk about many things, but we are not thinking in many occasions on the topic of the corporate responsibility. I mean, we as companies taking care of those guys, taking care of the safety, taking care of operating assets in a safe manner. So let me talk about risk management. There are 3 main steps on risk management from companies. First of all, the most important thing is the evaluation of all possible situations. That's very easy because we can go to guidelines which are describing very well the possible risks. The second is the planning. I mean, we have to plan appropriate mitigation measurements. In many occasions, they are economical and very basically focus on the contracts. And finally, there is a need of supervision of the implementation of these palliative measures. And this is what we are going to explain today. How are we doing this planning and supervision from the company, from a corporate point of view? The implementation of palliative measurements are supported on a robust assessment of the remaining useful life of the assets. And this here, it's important, it's interesting because many companies have asked about that. What's really the role of you when you are acting as technical advisor and when you are a certification body? Let me explain briefly. When we are the technical advisor, we are doing the simulations, calculations, analytics, we are calculating uncertainties. We are basically doing a reflection of how the wind farm is. So this is not a validation, this is not a certification, it's just a reflection of how is the wind farm. It's a calculation and it's using a lot of complex maths and scripts, codes and whatever to calculate, to simulate how the wind farm is. we have, as I mentioned before, if any of the attendees have interest on how we are doing this, we will be happy to explain, as this was explained in former congresses. When we are acting as a certification body, when our certification body is acting, it is really reviewing the fulfillment of international recognized design requirements in a standardized way. So normally this happens when we have to comply with country regulations or whatever. So that's really the separation between acting as certification, acting as technical advisor. So the fundamental question I explained at the beginning, I want to explain today is why our clients are asking for remaining useful life assessments, right? So at the moment, we are very proud. We have analyzed more than 15,000 megawatts of wind energy assets in 26 countries, using 78 different wind turbine models. We use a lot of them in Europe, also many in North America and also Latin America, not so many in Asia Pacific. But you see, a big part of what we are doing is happening in Europe. And why our clients are asking us for this, right? This is fundamentally the 4 reasons we are going to explain today very quickly. The first one is the compliance with country regulations, as Maliya explained, and I will explain later. Second main reason is asset valuation, which could be very important for shareholders, bondholders, investors, or even debt negotiation. I will explain that also. M&A, we are making around 3.7 gigawatts of M&A assessment, M&A of operating wind farms within the process of due diligence. And finally, you see around half of the assessments we are doing are really to perform corporate lifetime extension protocols. This means that there are companies really concerned to have a good understanding of how their assets are, and based on that, make a proper protocol for their company to know that whatever they are doing on the field of lifetime extension is really fitting the best setups in the industry, right? So let me go into that a little bit in detail. So the risk management, there are 3 different levels of risks which are connected to what I explained before. So economic risks that have to be mitigated by means of knowing what is there, making a rigorous evaluation of the assets, having an aging plan, and also discussing with insurance or having a contingency reserve. So that's really covering the economic reserve, the economic risk. And in most of the companies, this is the only concern. They are only thinking, what if I have a very expensive corrective, like changing a blade or whatever? Another important risk, Maliya mentioned, compliance with country regulations. So this, let's say, is the legal risk. And finally, one missing risk is the safety risk. So there are 2 questions I would like the audience today to make themselves. First of all is, does your company have a clear lifetime extension protocol to ensure safe operation for workers and for assets? And the second, very much connected to the first one, is what is the maximum acceptable failure rate for your company? Do you have, by the way, any failure rate or any kind of threshold or limits or level for the extension of your assets? Let's go into that. So the 4 main reasons I explained before. First of all, compliance with regulations. As Maliya explained, there are some countries which have established regulations. There is not an international regulation yet, even if the IEC 61400-28 is really discussed with our colleagues also taking part. It's not a technical standard yet, but it will be, hopefully sooner than later. At the moment, there are some countries, I am highlighting here Denmark and Germany because are the 2 ones in which we are working more, but also Sweden, Netherlands, Belgium, Finland, Greece, Hungary. Those are also countries where there are specific regulations. So here is where the certification body role or inspection body is really important, because you have to fulfill a guideline. Then the assessment you are doing has to fulfill this guideline, right? And we are doing this mainly in Germany by means of following DIBT and BWE, as well as in alignment with our own guideline, which is the UL 4143 that I think everybody knows. So this is the first main reason. I remember it was around 10% of our clients were looking for the compliance with regulations. There is another portion of clients looking for asset valuation. This is interesting, and let me focus on this public example. A company reporting a big profit on this first quarter of 2020, which is amazing considering the coronavirus situation. It is highlighted in yellow that the accounting impact of increasing the useful life of the company's wind and solar assets from 25 to 30 years is really contributing to this increment of the value of the company, I would say, or the stocks of the company. So this is very important for the shareholders, for the stockholders, for investors, even for debt renegotiation. So knowing exactly what is the value of the company assets is really an important part of the reasons why our clients are asking us to do this. Third important reason, M&A. Many companies in those days are looking for assets to invest on operating assets. So there is a lot of M&A here and there. We are making a lot of due diligence, and within all the things that our clients are looking, they are increasingly concerned about knowing what's exactly the remaining useful life. So whenever our clients are looking for investing on an operating wind farm, they really want to know about the remaining useful life. But finally, the last point and last slide, as I mentioned, half of the assessments we are doing are around the establishment of lifetime extension protocols to cover or to mitigate what we call the corporate risk. So by applying the best practices in industry, which is knowing very well how our assets are, those protocols must provide comfort to everybody, the management, the employees, the subcontractors who are entering our wind turbines. Everybody will be working on safer conditions, knowing that the assets have been very well analyzed, and there is really a plan. There are limits. The company has really a plan of how to operate this wind farm beyond their design life, right? So there are 5 points on the protocol. We are assessing many of our clients on the establishment of those protocols. The first one is establishing clear criteria of the analytical evaluation. I mean, the way they want to know how or what is the remaining useful life of their assets. So asset age, probability of failures, analyzing the historic O&M and so on. This has to be established. The second, once you know what's the status of your assets, you have to establish action plans. So meaning, what's the inspection frequency, what are the contents of the inspections you are going to do, and so on. Third is review with the periodicity adapted to the KPIs that you have defined. For example, refreshing the data, the operational and wind data every X months if you have surpassed certain P50, P90, whatever the value you are establishing as a company in your corporate protocol. Four, very important, establishing preventive strategies in the event of the structural risk that are exceeding the limits that you are establishing. For example, operational changes like wind sector management or replacing or reinforcing components. And finally, unfortunately, we will need a plan for the end of the operation and disassemble of the wind farm if the ultimate limit is reached. So from the assessment of the status of their assets to the establishing of the inspections plans, the periodicity and the preventive strategies to the final end of the operation, this is really what the company needs to show everybody, the management, the employees, subcontractors, the investors, the insurance company, to show everybody that we are doing, let's say, the best possible practices in the industry to make sure that we are complying with safety. Finally, very important, performing the assessment of the assets, doing the remaining useful life assessment. It is not only useful for this lifetime extension protocol, it is also useful for the other 3 reasons. So you can use it for economical reasons, you can use it also to comply with regulations and be the basis for the certification. So with all this, Maliya, I finished my part, and I think I'm returning to you.
Thank you, Jose, for this good presentation. I will now leave the word to Ivan for his presentation on repowering market outlook.
Thank you, Maliya. Good afternoon, everyone, again. Welcome to our webinar. I hope you enjoyed it so far. I will take you through our repowering analysis of what we consider a very crucial part of the industry. As Maliya explained, we will see a significant increase in wind farm capacity in the near future, but also long term. And we have to take care of the old assets. If we don't, we might end up losing everything we have been building over the last few decades. So let's start off with some terminology. Always when we talk about repowering, there are question marks on what is actually repowering, what is lifetime extension. So let me show you two examples that I took as a screenshot from a news outlet. Both of them say there were repowering projects, but when you take a look at the left one, a Spanish repowering project where 90 turbines were replaced with newer 8 Nordic Saxiona turbines. That's what we considered repowering. And on the right, you have a project where the cells were replaced and there was some reblading being done. That's what we consider a lifetime extension. So simple rule of thumb, when we talk about repowering, we talk about projects where you had to replace the whole foundation. And when we talk about repowering volumes, repowering capacity, we think about the capacity of the new projects. The old one we explain as capacity under repowering. But enough with the nerdy stuff. Let's take a look at the situation today. What's the status of the onshore fleet in Europe? You will notice that Germany does have the most wind installed, but it also has one of the oldest fleet in Europe, marking it a country that definitely is on everyone's radar when it comes to end-of-life issues. More than 16 gigawatts are older than 15 years, and you know that we were talking about 20-25 years lifetime, but as Jose explained, you have to get the companies like QL to assess your wind farms a couple of years before, so you can make a decision what to do with your assets. So definitely for the operators of wind farms in Germany, but also in Spain, Netherlands, Italy, and Denmark, already now is a time to assess really what to do with their wind farms. You know that a couple of decades ago, Denmark and Germany were the leaders in installing wind capacity. Denmark already today has more than 50% of the capacity older than 15 years. But since it's a small country and relatively small market compared to Germany for wind energy, we have heard, at least in the blade disposal or waste treatment companies, that it's not large enough market for them to do recycling or to set up new facilities. But now when you add up all those volumes coming in Germany and Spain, this field becomes also very interesting for the companies dealing with waste and recycling. Now let me show you at the famous repowering projects that we analyzed at WindEurope. We do this quite often. Some of our members might have seen it already as we uploaded to our intelligence platform a couple of weeks ago. You will notice that most of the projects are in Germany. This is an analysis of 123 projects, and almost half of them are German projects. And surprisingly, you will see Netherlands, France, Denmark, UK, and Italy being up there as countries where we saw repowering, but we also saw some in Luxembourg, Portugal, Finland, Norway. You might have noticed that Spain didn't really have many repowering projects, although it's a pioneer in wind energy, and we had installations of 20 years ago. It was already a new wave of renewable energy was becoming the trend in Spain. So let me show you a repowering project in Spain, the one that I showed in my first slide, the El Cabrito wind farm, where 90 Chemtech turbines were replaced by 15 Nordic Saxiona turbines, and the wind farm capacity remained basically the same. The reason behind it was that the number of turbines, the capacity of one turbine increased so significantly from 300 kilowatts, which was installed back in '93, to 2.3 megawatts that was installed in 2018, that the wind farm capacity was basically the same. You'll see that it looks also nicer than the old wind farms with much different towers. Second market that we find crucial in repowering, Germany, and now also paired together with the coal exit that's currently happening in Germany. I want to show you also a very unique project in Klettwitz, which is a wind farm on top of an open cast coal mine, and it was already repowered almost 5 years ago. So you can see that wind energy can do some contribution also to the coal regions, which is currently very important in Europe. There we saw the same trend: fewer turbines. Turbines are more powerful because they are newer, and of course the wind farm capacity increases. What was one of our main findings when we took a look at 123 projects, such as the one in Klettwitz, such as the one in El Cabrito? Well, we realized that the age of decommissioning of those assets was ranging somewhere between 9 and 27 years, depending per country. But really, the sweet spot for decommissioning was between 15 and 20 years. So just depends really per country. We saw in Denmark they were being decommissioned a bit later, as well as in Spain. But in Germany, they were also a bit earlier because Germany had the repowering bonus up to 2014, which really encouraged asset owners to perform repowering. So what was the next big thing that we found out in our analysis? Well, bear with me on this chart. Each bubble represents one wind farm, so 123 bubbles. On the x-axis, you will see the change in wind farm capacity. If you're on the right-hand side of the x-axis, it means that the wind farm capacity increased of a repowering project. You will see that most of them actually did increase. And on the y-axis, you have a change in the number of turbines. And you will see that in some cases, repowering projects did actually increase the number of turbines. In a lot of cases, they remained the same. However, in most cases, we did see fewer turbines, to be precise, 26% fewer turbines. And now, because the turbines that were being put instead of the old ones, they were so much powerful, more than 3 times more powerful, the wind farm capacity increased by a factor of 2.3. So definitely a finding that's very relevant and good to know when planning the future of wind energy in Europe. Now, in WindEurope, we love maps, and let me show you a map that ERCOM presented at last year's End-of-Life Issues and Strategies seminar in Leuven, in Belgium, where they mapped all different wind farms in Germany and if they think they could repower them or not. Of course, you see here a lot of red dots, which means bad situation, repowering not possible. Why is that? Well, environmental regulation changed a lot since we installed those turbines back in the days. In particular, the environmental impact assessment. So you can notice that now you, especially the developers out there, that it's much harder now to do an environmental impact assessment than it was 20 years ago. The rules are stricter, and now when you have newer turbines that are usually also have height twice as much as the old ones, you need to take care more of the setback distance to a dwelling or a housing. So there are multiple problems that you need to address in repowering, and that's why we already see that some 40% of sites will not be eligible for repowering in Germany. So you can either lifetime extend them or fully decommission them, which is just sad because you will lose all this capacity that we built and all this findings that we got from those sites, as those old sites where we were building 20 years ago are the windiest sites in Europe. So what's the future for repowering? Back in October, we came out with our 5-year outlook, where we calculated that some 22 gigawatts are approaching their end of life over the next 5 years. And in short, most of them are going to go for a lifetime extension, or they'll just continue operation. For you, some of you that are following closely this end of life, repowering, and lifetime extension discussions, recently there was a report by a Danish energy agency that showed that actually turbines are living longer than initially expected. So that's also one factor that owners are just letting the turbines run. Of course, it's a case-by-case decision. So owners will take a look if their wind farm is earning enough money to be feasible to continue running. You know that feed-in tariffs are expiring, so especially in Germany, we'll have a couple of gigawatts now exiting the feed-in tariff, and they will be left to either sign a power purchase agreement or sell the electricity on the wholesale market. And so far, before the COVID-19, it looked like a very reasonable business decision. The prices were above 40 euros per megawatt hour. Operational costs were somewhere in that range or below. So a lot of owners were looking to just continue running their assets. But now with the prices being so low, we have to reassess and to see what's the future of repowering, because there might not be enough revenues from the wholesale market for operators to continue running their assets. Of course, one small part of the wind farm capacity will be decommissioned, fully decommissioned, gone completely. That's the green part, some 2.2 gigawatts due to the changes in environmental regulations. And some 2 gigawatts would be dismantled, and then they would become eventually 4 gigawatts of repower projects. This is our analysis, and when you just take a look at the figures, what has been happening in the last few years, you will notice that there was very little repowering projects and very little decommissioning happening in Europe. And with that, I'm giving the floor back to Maliya.
Thank you, Ivan. I'm going to share my screen now. Okay. Thank you, Ivan. We are receiving some questions. Thank you. We'll address it just after my short overview of the program foreseen at EOLIS 2020. EOLIS means end-of-life issues and strategies. It aimed to take place on the 19th and 20th of November at The Hague, Brussels. In 2018, WindEurope did its first edition of the seminar, and we aim to renew it this year. So what's new in this second edition? First, instead of 1 day, it will be 2 days. And the second novelty is on each option of end of life. The options are repowering, lifetime extension, decommissioning, and recycling. We will have a plenary session and workshops. Workshops meaning that the sessions will take place in smaller groups, breakout sessions, basically. On repowering, we will discuss at the plenary the legal issues and how to solve the project acceptance issues as well. And at the workshops, how Power Tweaks can be a solution to resolve the permitting issues, and what is the legal framework in different EU countries, for example. In the afternoon, on lifetime extensions, we will discuss the business models, all the digital aspects of it, at the workshops, and all the decision drivers. On Friday morning, will be dedicated to decommissioning. So what are the best practices? How can we save lives and save costs at the same time? We will also ask ourselves the question on how to decommission offshore in due time. And in the afternoon, we will discuss the interesting topic also of recycling. What are the recycling technologies out there? And at the plenary, we aim to give the stage to the manufacturers to share with us their strategies. Also new this year are the networking opportunities. We will have special dedicated sessions for B2B matchmaking to further deepen your needs and share your knowledge. This is the map of the venue. So it will be a big venue that will accommodate all the exhibitors, the B2B matchmaking, and the session rooms. So due to the current situation of the COVID-19 pandemic, WindEurope is monitoring the situation closely. We will keep you updated if of any changes in the future.